Good evening and welcome to BCF Women Ministry, Women of the Bible series. I am so excited that you're joining us, whether you're watching us or whether you're listening to us. We're so happy you're here. But I am more excited, not more, I should say equally excited to have with me my friend, special guest today, Pastor Alexis Williams. She's a native of Jersey City, New Jersey. She's the CEO of First Ladies Empowerment. She's been involved in ministry beginning at the early age of 8 and accepted Jesus Christ as her personal savior at the age of 13. In 1976, she received her calling as an aspiring missionary and said, "Yes, Lord, send me, I'll go." She loves God with all of her heart and is serious about her ministry and walk with God. She lives her life as a miracle, one that was healed from spinal meningitis and encephalitis at the age of 13. She is the wife of the late Bishop Williams. She is a thriving member and supporter of Institutional International Ministries, where her son, Pastor Alex Williams, served as the senior pastor. We're so excited about having you here with us today. Thank you for taking out the time, Pastor Williams. When I look at you, I just think of the richness of just the history that has taken place here in New York. It's so rich. I remember singing a song along with the choir on air. And it's one of those songs that you never forget.
Never forget, right.
You never forget. Institutional Church of God and Christ is on the air. I was like, it's like you just never forget it.
Yes.
And dynamic services, but thank you for joining us today, and I'm feeling really humbled to have you in your presence. And we're gonna go right into it because I want to hear what God is saying through you, women of God. Let's start with Queen of Sheba. I'm going to throw it to you right now. Just talk to us about Queen of Sheba.
Well, I want to say to you, Pastor Q, thanks for having me. I'm very excited about being here. To just be on this live conversation, to talk about women, to talk about great women, to talk about their characteristics, to talk about strong women like you and me. Okay, I'll take that because I believe that we are strong women. And when we talk about the life of Queen Sheba, just reading in First Kings, the 10th chapter, we read about her life, how she's just like some of us. She was a powerful woman, beautiful woman. Her beauty captured not just the men, but her beauty captured women. But she was an independent woman ruling wealth. Some people ask the question even about her nationality. What was she? Was she Chinese? Was she this? Well, come on. She was a Black woman who was very progressive. She was a Black woman who was very successful. She was a Black woman that was very wealthy, who ruled a big empire, the Queen of Sheba. And when I was reading about this, I said, wow, what a reputation of extraordinary wisdom that she had. And when I read, I says, a lot of women today feel that they cannot have the same power. They feel that they cannot have the same authority. But when I read about the Queen of Sheba, even coming up as a young kid, we didn't really have much understanding. But now that we are basically, I guess you could say, looking at our life and their life, looking at this woman who went through changes like we go through, a woman to me, first thing I said, she was a woman with a lot of wealth. She was a woman with a lot of power.
Yes.
Think about it. Men were her slaves. And yes, men were her slave because of her power, because of her beauty. Very intelligent, but she walked with authority. Because you can be wealthy, but can't walk with authority. But Queen of Sheba walked with authority. But the only unfortunate thing in the beginning, she didn't even know how to wear her crown. She didn't know how to wear her crown in the beginning of her time of reigning because she was a little arrogant. And sometimes when women have power, when they have authority, they become arrogant. But women got to learn how to wear their crown because you know what? We're all queens. And if you don't wear your crown the right way, you'll be wearing a tiara. And I had said this, but you got to learn how to walk in authority like Queen of Sheba. And despite of all that, the negativity that she had to face, I thought about her strength. She had inner strength. This was a woman, when you read the story of Queen of Sheba, she was married to an idol that can't hold her, an idol can't compliment her, an idol that can't caress her, can't do any of that. And of course, Solomon's son teased her when he met her. But if you remember the story, as soon as he met her, he fell in love with her because of her beauty. Some men love women with power. Some men do not love women with power.
So
But
true.
they don't like women with the authority. But Queen of Sheba knew how to wear her crown. She knew how to capture the heart of a man. But then she walked with power, she walked with authority. But Solomon's son fell in love with her as soon as he met her. And she had a little jealous thing going on as well, because women were her enemies. You didn't want to cross her. When she found out that his son was going to marry someone else, what did she do? She wanted to go walk up in there and start a war. She got to Jerusalem. Yeah, she wanted to start a war because basically, because of the authority she had, she thought she was able to stop the marriage. Little did she know that woman that his son was going to marry sat and talked with her because she realized that he loved her. And she said, go save your man. Go, she told him, go get your woman. She accepted the fact that, he didn't love her, but he was in love with the queen. When you read somewhere, and even in the Bible, it doesn't really give you, it talks about this woman was unnamed. But when you really search in other books, it's not a biblical confirmation, but I think her name was Makata. If I'm not mistaken, it was Makata. This was her name. So I believe because of the love that she had for Solomon's son, I looked at her like this. She started out very bitter. And if you look at her life and study her life, she was a woman that couldn't be shaken. She couldn't be a woman. She didn't have a good heart. She wanted to kill people. She wanted to torture people. But the love that captured her heart, eventually, he was able to bring her in to say, listen, don't kill, but love. But I think it was the love that they had for one another that softened her heart. But you know what? I love the fact that as a woman, she yet stood her ground. Even though there was a lot of men, she was ruling the men. She was ruling the men. But I thank God for the fact that God has given us the same authority.
Yeah.
Given us the same power. He has given us, but as I go back to that, we got to learn how to wear our crown. We got to learn how to use our authority, use our power, but use it with grace.
Woo!
Got to use it with grace.
Pastor.
And when you use it with grace, people don't mind following you. But Queen of Sheba had some issues. She did have some issues. So all the women could not be friendly with her. But you know what? I love the fact because I love to see strong women walking to their purpose. And she ruled well. Couldn't take it away from her.
That was a loaded message. Loaded, just spewed out. That's what I'm telling you. I am sitting, audience, we are sitting in front of a fountain of wisdom in Pastor Williams right now. A fountain of wisdom. Did you hear what she just said?
Yeah.
We have to learn how to wear our crown.
Yeah, that's right.
We think we have a crown, we really have a tiara. Acting as if we have a crown. It cannot be. So you right now just loaded us. I mean, I'm about to come unglued in my chair. I'm about to go unglued. So can you help us with how to behave
Yes.
There's a behavior with authority, you know,
Yes.
um, the Bible says, don't let your name, be evil spoken of. There's a behavior. And
Hmm.
sometimes women look at men and try to emulate what they consider authority of how they execute. So is there a difference between a woman in authority and a man in authority in the eyes of God?
Well, there is a difference in that because God made the man the head, number one. And as a woman, we got to know our place. You don't have to be arrogant to walk in authority. You don't have to be conceited, but there is a difference because um, a lot of times, as I said earlier, you got to know how to wear your crown. My dad used to always say to me, if you let your husband be the king of his castle, he'll make you the queen of the castle. And women got to learn how to
I
just
can't take
just, just walk with grace. Be very graceful as God has placed you, because you know what? A lot of times now I said it earlier, you cannot rule a man, but you can get a man to eat out of your hands. And that's to be graceful. It is. It is to be graceful. I have men in my church. I've learned not to be like the man. I've learned not to use my authority to boss them around. But there is a way, women, that we can talk to a man and you'll have them doing whatever you need them to do, and that's being graceful. The
Right.
characteristics have to be different. You have to show love. And then guess what? You got to be like Queen of Sheba. You got to look good.
Mm.
Listen, a man wants a woman to look, that has a lot to do with authority. Looking good. You got to look the part when you walk with this.
Yeah.
And it's
Ooh.
serious. This is serious.
Oh,
You got
you're
to
so
look the part. Yes, when you walk with authority, but it's being graceful. It's being kind. It's being love. And guess what? Being soft spoken, not being a loud woman. When it comes to, sometimes we feel we have the authority now. So now we got to project our voice. No, power does not come from the projection of your voice. It comes from being very graceful. So that's what listen, that's what I want to tell the women.
That
Walk into
is
your purpose, but walk strong. Yeah.
walk strong. And I love the analogy you gave, because I thought of when you said that you can draw bees with honey than you can with vinegar.
Vinegar. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, being able to operate in your giftings and understanding there is a difference between a woman and a man, right? So we have our place, and that place of submission, that even though we want to stand up sometimes and not, I talk to we talk a lot about this as married women. I've been married I'll be 40 years in February.
Wow.
Yeah, February. And it's a learning piece. It's not something that's automatic, but you've got to allow God to mold you and shape you. Because I always say the most effective means in communication is an ability to listen. So sometimes it's just being quiet, just being quiet and just being silent. And just because you think you can win the argument, it's not necessarily time for you to open your mouth. It's because it's not even about winning. And the real focus of any type of interaction like that is about reconciliation. So, what does reconciliation look like? What do you need to do, me as a woman, in order to make this right? So I love those analogies. I also love the idea of what you just talked about in dressing the part. I want to elaborate on that a little bit more. I want to go a little bit deeper, because sometimes we don't even think about how we present ourselves, not just to our husbands, which is important, how we look, right? I feel important how we look even when we're home, and presentable, desirable.
Yes.
And when we're home, yeah, it's COVID, but doesn't mean you don't have to. You can still put on your lipstick in COVID. You can still put on your heels in COVID. You can still put on your perfume in COVID. All that jewelry you still have hanging, just put a couple of those earrings on. Look nice, smell nice. Take that bath, that shower. Do what you got to do. You can't afford to go here and there. Just get you flicker candles and have yourself a time in your bathtub. Just create the ambiance. I feel like in the home is important, but also I want to take it outside, because
Yeah.
some, even on the outside, for Pastor, we don't. We have to make sure that that authority shows up even in our external.
That's right.
And when you think about it, when you make that statement, I'm thinking like, when you're walking in that true authority, there's a desire to want to have that external look right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so what
it all begins in the home, if I can say that, Pastor Q.
Please go.
It all depends in the home.
Mm-hmm.
You got to look, and you got to look good in the home first.
Yes.
That's just like manners. It all begins in the home. Training begins in the home. You're not going to go to church and be trained. All this begins in the home. You're not going to go into work in your workforce and be, no, it all begins in the home, how we look. And I always teach my women, I said, appearance is very important. Personal hygiene is very important. I'm not saying that you got to put on rhinestones, no, but you got to look the part.
Yes.
You walk in authority when you have any type of, I would say, power, going into your office. If you're a teacher, you got to look the part. Now, I tell my women this, you never know where your husband is. Do not walk out in the street with those bonnets on your head. Those bonnets that everybody, those black bonnets, those brown, the worst. I tell them, you never know who's looking at you. You never know who's watching you. But even as you go into the workforce, when you go into the church, wherever you're going to go, I just believe that everything begins at home. I was married to my husband for 37 years. When I woke up in the morning, there was never gook in my eyes. I went in the bathroom right away and put some Listerine in my mouth, looked out curlers and look good, because my father taught me that. Even though my mother taught me, my father, the man, taught me. See, and that's what dads are supposed to do. And people don't realize that the fathers really are supposed to teach the daughters how a man is supposed to treat them and what a man is supposed to do.
You're absolutely right.
It's so important that women, you look good, smell good. Your appearance make a big difference. Bishop used to always say, I notice your smile. You're always smiling. And that's important. When I first met him, I said, well, what attracted you to me besides everything else? I just wanted to know. And he said, it was always your smile. He said, you kept your nails done and you kept your hair done. And see, little did I know that he was looking at those little things that are really not little, it's major.
Yes.
Your consonants you have to keep a smile. The way you talk, it's very important. And that's why I said, speak with grace. You can even walk gracefully. You can change the atmosphere in the room because you just entered. I said to women, it's so important. Not saying that every man is going to listen to you. No, that's not the case. Right. However, you can make a difference.
You can make a difference.
Make a difference. So your appearance, be well groomed. Keep everything in place. Just for COVID, I made sure I didn't sit in the house looking a hot mess. I didn't sit in the house. No, but I got you too, right? We got put on some makeup, and it makes yourself feel good.
Yeah.
And that's what, we have to do during COVID. Listen, I had to start walking. I put on a few pounds, my standing before people talking, I don't want to be a big girl.
Right.
It's important. It makes a difference in society, how we look and how people accept us. It's very important.
And you want people to take you seriously in society. And that is, like you said, it's going to start in the home. Yeah. Appearance does matter. I don't care if this is how you feel. I'm going to do what I want to, but I guarantee you, you go out there and you step in front of some kings and queens and people of authority, people of influence, people of power, and you just look in any kind of way, that is going to make a difference. And I'm 110 with you. I gained a few pounds and I said, you have to be conscientious of how you want to look. for yourself, and if you're married, for your spouse as well. And don't just let yourself go. And it's from the top of our head to the soles of our feet.
That's right.
Everything just being intact. I'm not saying you can't have a pair of pajamas on one day, and I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is all the other elements are crucial. You have, the hygiene and hygiene
Important.
and how we look, and it's still useful during COVID,
That's right.
Breath,
everything. That's part of hygiene, our breath.
Our breath, Listerine is a friend a couple of times, and even when we go lie down by our husband, we don't want to be stinking,
Right.
And we don't want to look any kind of way, so all of those things play into, the authority of a wife. Because these positions have authority.
That's right.
You gotta know where that authority lies in the role that you're called to. Yes. And what does a polished, what does that wife look like polished, And what does that CEO look like in authority? What does that pastor, that minister, we all have roles of authority.
Roles. Yep.
And so I think that it's just so, so powerful. Being able to help these women. And thank you so much. I want you just to take the next, I want to give you more, just a little bit more time, just to talk and bring home to women just words of encouragement that you may have been struggling in this area, struggling in the area of grace, struggling in the area of kindness, struggling in the area, knowing that they're called to a place of authority, but sometimes in that house, they think they're Holy Spirit Junior. Mm-hmm. Because perhaps they feel like they're more spiritual than their husband.
Yes.
Be a adversary and right home and create schisms all throughout. And just because they may have a title pastor in the house, the church, and their husband doesn't. And so there's different layered tiers of that. So you and we may be married to pastors and bishops, but they may be married to someone that attends church, but they themselves have authority in church. So there is a fine line even there of when to know when to take off that title, when you cross the threshold of your door to your home. And so I want you to help these women just in wherever God is leading you and giving them some nuggets that they can live thereby after they listen to this session.
Women have to know how to balance their life, number one. And then women, you got to know how to separate the two. I was a wife and a pastor's wife. Mm-hmm. So my husband was a bishop, but in the church, I respected him. Now, before I get to that, let me say this. When it comes to a husband and wife, there are abilities he have that I may not have.
Right.
My husband was not an administrative person.
Right.
My husband got up and told the people, my wife preaches better than me. But I could not boast in that, Pastor. Pastor Q, I couldn't boast in that. Everything I did as a woman and a pastor's wife, I made him look good. Mm-hmm. Because you know what, women, I knew who I was. I knew I knew my inner strength. I knew my ability. I knew the gifts and the power that God has given me as a great woman of God. But I made him look good. I could have just said, oh, that was my idea. But I didn't do that. I didn't have to push myself. And that's important. Once women know who they are, once they can identify themselves and be sure, not have low self-esteem, because there are some women who have very low self-esteem. So now I got to make my man look bad because he has shortcomings. My husband had shortcomings, but he was a very intelligent man. He had degrees that I didn't have. But then forget administration, forget trying to organize, forget all. Bishop didn't have it. No, he didn't have it. So guess what? I would do his reports. I would do his beautiful agendas. I would set him up in front of his people, made him look good, and would tell him at home, do not get up and tell the people, oh, First Lady did this. I said, take the credit. So it was my job to make him look good, not bash him, not try to be smarter than him, not trying to out preach him, even though he told people No, that wasn't my job to do that. But it
No.
was my job to make him look good and for him and I to really, complement each other. That's the
Mm,
word. We complemented each other. But then as a husband and a wife, I knew how to separate the two. When I
mm,
got to church, he was Bishop Williams. So I
mm.
honored him that as the man of God. I didn't call him Carl in front of everybody. I had to call him Bishop Williams and honor him. But when I got in that office and closed the door, that was a whole different ball game. Okay,
Exactly,
that was
exactly.
hubby. That was, honey, you preach good and a kissy kissy. But when I got home, I made my home my sanctuary for my husband and I.
Yes, yes,
I kept a clean home. I
yes.
didn't keep clothes down. My father
Mhm.
taught me this because in the very beginning, because I was the last child to leave out of 7 kids.
Wow.
So everything was me, mine, everything belonged to me. That's mine. Okay. So when I heard when the one to two get married, everything become one, I was like, well, how is this going to work for me? Because I was so used to having my own and buying my own and being this independent woman. But
Mhm.
I had to learn to be a wife. And when we got married, my father just kept saying, stop complaining, keep your mouth shut. And women, that's our problem. A lot of times we just talk too much. you know, our head is going and our show, the body language. But I've learned to have a good and peaceful home, and that is to talk less.
Mm,
Bible tells us that we are to pray more and talk less. So I've learned to pray and say, God, listen, I want to have a happy home. Help me to be that woman and that wife that I need to be to make my husband happy. But I was
mm,
asking God to work on me because I did have a lot of mouth.
mhm.
I did. I criticized a lot. I'm not used to the soap being in the tub when you take a shower. I'm not used to a rag on the kitchen. The kitchen, after washing dishes, you hang that rag against across the faucets. No, everything had to be neat. But I've learned to learn him and how his ways are. You know what I started doing? Honey, I picked up your clothes. Honey, I put the dishes away for you. Honey, I did this. Honey, I took the soap and put it up here for you. So guess what? Now he learned the things that made me happy. And I
Mm,
learned the things that made him happy. So we
mm,
had a balanced home, a quiet home. He was never a confrontational person. Bishop was never.
mm,
And
mm.
I never would argue. And begin to, I'm gonna throw this out. This might sound funny, but I've learned to spell argue, Agree. Okay,
Mm.
I didn't agree with everything,
Right.
but to keep the peace, I just agreed and just said, okay, you're right. A man is
Mm,
not always right. But you
mm,
know what? I've learned for him to love me and for him, he took good care of me. You know, he was eating out of my hand. I've learned to just agree with him and do what I had to do. But I learned to separate the two.
mm,
I've learned to honor my husband and to love my husband. And then in church, I honored the man of God. But I didn't bring church into my house. When it was
mm.
time for me and him, it was time for me and him.
Good.
Not
That's
saying that sometimes we didn't talk it, but
right.
I didn't make that conversation a priority thing. But
Right.
I took good care of him.
That
My
is so
dad said, if you don't, somebody else will.
ah, that's so beautiful. That is so beautiful. And Pastor Williams was sharing how God led her, to walk in authority in her home and God but these are nuggets that you can grow thereby. You may not be the one that has to agree with everything that he says, but that's what the Lord showed her. And God may, but no matter what, we better know when to be quiet. We better know when to scale back.
Amen.
That's very important. But even in our discussions, because it's for the purpose of reconciliation, always work toward becoming one
Yes.
versus than winning a
That's
battle of an argument.
worth it.
That's very important. But thank you. We are so out of time.
Yeah.
But this has been so rich. I can go with you just on this for hours because I'm so full in this capacity as well. But thank you so much, Pastor
Great.
Williams. I know for a fact that the people that are listening to this have been more than blessed, more than blessed. I just thank God for you and your wisdom. Thank you, viewers, for watching and listening. Don't forget, this is every Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. Don't miss next week. Thank you, and God bless.
Bless you.